Hello, WomanUP community. Oh my goodness. We're here at the Courageous Reinvention Workshops. Can you believe it? We're here. It's here. We've had an amazing 2 days already. We had the wine tasting on Tuesday evening, and then, of course, our day of workshops and messages from leadership yesterday. I have three amazing women with me here today. All of these leaders have been part of the WomanUP story since the very beginning. It seems wild to say 5 years, but 5 years we've been doing this together. It's so exciting.
Including you, Debra.
Yes, including me. Yes, of course. And so today what we want to talk about is a little bit about the story, the herstory of WomanUP, and how each experienced the start, the origin story. And then we're going to flow into a conversation that we feel is super important for everyone who's here today. And that really is about how we can help women rise in real estate. Those who are, of course, already here in the industry, we have such a passion for, but we also really want to talk about those women who are affected during the pandemic, during the She session. And so we'll get into that. And then, of course, share some fun stuff about ourselves. But let's get this party started. We're actually going to introduce ourselves. We're going to start with Ms. Leslie. So I'm going to toss the mic to you, Leslie. Go for it.
Thanks, Debra. Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Appleton Young. I was with the California Association of Realtors for over 37 years. And for much of that, I was CAR's chief economist and did research, market analysis. And it's been incredible to be involved with WomanUP the last 5 years. Do you want me to do the word?
Oh, yes. Goodness sakes. Good catch. We actually asked everyone to come with 3 words that we're using to describe ourselves in this season. So what are your 3 words, Leslie?
My 3 words are, I'm incredibly grateful for my life. I have an amazing, happy life at this point in my life. And to be perfectly honest, I feel slightly disconnected after a year and a half of COVID and lockdowns and living on the East Coast, and everything I knew that was familiar and about everything has changed. So I've got that as well.
Yeah. Wow. Me too. I feel disconnected too. You are not alone. And I'm in the heart of LA, but I'm still disconnected.
Right.
I am Sara Suchan. I'm Senior Vice President of Member Information. That means what Leslie used to do, right? A little bit. It's a little different. I'm walking my own path, but I oversee the operations of our research and economics team, our DEI efforts, all of our member-facing diversity, equity, and inclusion, fair housing, and industry relations, including our broker communications, meeting with the brokerage firms in California, WomanUP, our top producer teams, new agent, YPN. So all of those key stakeholders that are so important to our membership at the California Association of Realtors. And my 3 words are innovative, strategic. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also do strategic planning for the association. To add on to my many hats. And then the one word I don't want to forget is collaborative. I hope that I am a collaborative teammate and leader. And I think it's so important, especially in a time when we're so disconnected. So thank you for that setup, Leslie.
I love it.
And I'm Bernice Ross. I'm the CEO and president of BrokerageUP and realestatecoach.com. I've been in the business for going on 40 years. And one of the words I'm feeling right now, I'm very blessed to be with this group and to have been in leadership and helping women to achieve their goals. And I'm super happy at the moment, very content, but super happy because my husband and I just booked a trip of a lifetime this morning to Antarctica in January of 23.
So cool.
I am so excited about that. I've been in the training side of the business. I've been a broker. I write for MN News, trainer, speaker. But the thing that makes my heart sing is the work that we've been able to do. I know that I started doing 15 years ago with Awesome Females in Real Estate, and to see Sara and Leslie take that work and build it into this national movement called WomanUP has just been one of the best things that's ever happened in my career, in my life.
That's so
You're
beautiful.
our pioneer, Bernice. You are our pioneer.
Thank you. And Debra, you've been right there all the way as well. So I don't want to minimize that.
No, I don't feel minimized. Okay, so I'm Debra Trapin. For those of you who don't know me, I wear many hats as well. I own my own consulting firm. I'm here today because of one of my biggest passions is being the chief strategist for WomanUP. I work a lot with Sara and with Leslie, not as much as we used to work together with Leslie, but we still get to see her on Fridays for the show. And I really focus on helping businesses put together their empowerment strategies. And most of the work in that space has been with women, right? Helping women step into their potential. And I'd say my 3 words right now in this season, of course, besides sass, moxie, and fire, would be, that I really truly feel like I have had to lean into being persistent. And there's so much distraction out there, so many people asking so many things. And although we've become so much more productive, there's just breaking through the noise has really, I've had to put the feeling of being a nag on the side and sticking to it and just knocking on the doors and sending the emails. So being persistent is one of them. Focused. I have really honed my focus in this season, and then flourishing, like personally in my home life, in my self development. I feel very blessed to have had time to hang out with my plants and read tons of books and just create some new rituals. So there you go. There you have it. All 4 of us have wildly different words, which I love. And that really is the beauty of, I think, this foursome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we didn't share our words beforehand. So this was all a surprise. So we've heard from our community that a lot of people may not know where WomanUP started. And we started more than 5 years ago. It was in the halls of hotel conference rooms, actually. And I want to start by sharing the WomanUP story from my point of view, and then bring all of these 3 wonderful women who are part of that story into this conversation. So when I became, I started working with the largest brokerage firms. Leslie promoted me. She said, here, this is your new job, and go out and meet with the brokers. And so I did. And we set up this broker world tour. Actually, it was just in California, but it was a broker tour across the state. And Leslie would be there sometimes. I would be there sometimes. Joel would be there every time. And many times, Leslie or I were the only women, or both of us were the only women in the room. And one time in particular, I still remember how angry this made me, because I was just frustrated. And Leslie was the type of boss that had her door open, and I could go into her office. I can scream, I could cry, I could curse, I could share my thoughts. And I brought this frustration to her, and she just said, let's do this. Let's put together a conference. Let's do this. We could do something about it. And so that was kind of the inkling, the blow up moment that began this trajectory. And I want to let Leslie kind of speak to her point of view on how it all started as well. So Leslie?
Sure. Well, speaking of strategic planning, I mean, it kind of all came together that summer of 2016, I believe it was, when we kind of developed this program package, and we kind of said we need to do a women's conference. But I remember a few months prior to that, we discovered, and I'm going to blank out on the name, so maybe Sara can help me, but we had all these meetings, and the female CEOs were few and far between. And we found one in San Diego that literally 6 of the top 10 producers in San Diego worked for her firm, and we didn't know her, right? And it was just one of those, and maybe you'll remember, I mean, I'm just blanking out right now, a senior moment, but it was just such an incredible thing. Like, how do we not know all of the women that ought to be part of our network and part of our brokerage community? So we started with
Penny Nathan.
Yeah, it was Penny Nathan. Absolutely. It was Penny Nathan, and had all women at the top of her management at her company at the time. And she's just an amazing person anyway. But it kind of snowballed from there, because we got it through the strategic planning committee and through the board of directors. And there were some naysayers and people that didn't quite understand why we needed to do this. But the other thing that really superpowered this effort was that spring we attended the Real Trends Conference in Denver. And Jeff Cloven was one of the speakers that Steve Murray brought in. And he had written a book called Humans Are Underrated. And I think to this day, it is the book, along with We Need to Talk, Humans Are Underrated is the book that I recommend to any human being to read, because it's about the power of being human and the strengths and the talents, even and especially in a world that's going digital. And there's a lot of data, there's a lot of hard numbers in there. And there's one chapter where they're studying the effectiveness of teams. And this was really incredible, that the most effective teams are the most diverse teams, but also the teams that have the most women. And actually the all-female teams outperformed everybody because of the collaboration we were just talking about. So that's kind of how everything came together. And we had our first WomanUP conference that exceeded our expectations, and we were off and running from there.
Yes. And a huge shout out to all of the strategic planning and finance committee who were on that, and to our leader at the time, Jeff McIntosh and Joel Singer. You know, Jeff McIntosh was the president, and he was like, all in, do it. So was Joel. So yeah, that's a really awesome point, an awesome point of view. And we couldn't go forward with doing a women's anything without consulting Bernice. So Bernice.
Well, it's so funny how different our recollections are, because I remember, I believe, Leslie, you came to me, and I'm not recalling who's the head of Berkshire Hathaway in California. She was the broker. Gretchen Pearson, yes. And she says, you know, where are all the women? And you looked at the statistics for the top 100 firms in brokerages in terms of production in California, and only 17 were run by women. And I remember you saying, you know, it's like we're asking, what's wrong with this picture? Let's do something about it. And that was my recollection of how I was brought into it. And I was really very honored when I had a chance. I've interviewed over 50 women now over the last 5 years about what works in brokerages. And there are amazing things that come out. And Sara mentioned the collaboration and the production that comes from bringing women into the picture. And something we have seen, I hear it at every one of my conferences. I've seen it at WomanUP. We see it in practice everywhere. We are oftentimes the only female in the room. And the good news is that more and more women are stepping into the space to have their own companies, to go into leadership than ever before. And this movement has had a tremendous influence on it. And it's a tribute to the leadership at CAR and to the work that this amazing team has done. So
You're here.
Yes. Yeah,
thank you. Beautifully said, Bernice.
And Bernice did all of our one-on-one interviews. We started with 25, we ended with 50 nationwide, and those are in our vault and just amazing. And we always go back to them. They're on our blog. We wrote a book about it. Literally, we wrote the book, and it's all about the stories of these amazing pioneer women that we knew, and then the community has grown, right? We want to know more stories, and through our Share Your Story initiative, we have gathered so many more after that. So thank you, Bernice. And Debra, I want to give a huge shout out to Lindsay Moss and Carol Farrar, who connected me with Debra when I had this idea of a women's initiative and a conference. They connected me to you. Yeah. Actually, Leslie and I to you.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear your story. And for those of you who don't know, you may not know this, not a lot of people know this, but we were trying to figure out what the name was going to be. Like, okay, so we got this initiative passed. We have the backing of our board. We're going to make this a success. But what do we call it? And Debra says, WomanUP.
Well, the story goes that during the time, so in 2016, when we were discussing this, my alarm, so what woke me up every morning was Meghan Trainor's song called WomanUP. And I'm sure it'll be played.
It was a sign.
It was a sign. It was an absolute sign. I'm sure we've played it already in the show. If not, we'll definitely weave it in. Yeah, I think it was September, maybe late August, September, when Sara, we had our first conversation, and it was like we were lifelong friends within the first 10 minutes of the conversation. And, when you're in the flow with someone and you hear their vision, and it just sparks that fire inside you, like that is what happened. And that hasn't stopped. Even inside the pandemic, we've been able to whiteboard just like we did when we started, right? And, I think some of my favorite kind of in the beginning stories, 2017 was so beautiful. And I remember us talking about what the two of you kind of had in mind, and bringing in, the conversations that I'd had in the women's only groups that I was part of. And there were a couple of things that stood out. One was when I said to you, I really don't want to have something that's women only. I want the men to be there too. And you were like, okay, well, okay. Like, let's talk about that.
And I wanted to be exclusive.
No. But, when you talk about women's initiatives, it can start to feel very, very siloed, right? And because this was for the members at first, it was like, well, I know that women dominate the membership. Yep. But let's invite men in the room, into the table, so that they can hear what we're talking about. And I loved that you were so open to that. And then, of course, the beauty of all of the leaders coming together, inviting their connections, the women who were not only on stage, but the women who were in the audience. I mean, we actually had to stop. We had to close the doors because we were going to get in trouble with the fire department in that first year. And it's continued to grow again. And the last thing that I remember, besides, of course, having to shut it down, one of my favorite things that was said in that first event that really has kept us all entertained was Leslie's, like, I've been going to Man Up conferences my whole life. And like everyone in the room could really relate to that. Even those who identified as male in the room were like, yeah, like this does feel different. Mm-hmm. And so every year we've been able to build on that fresh perspective, that fresh feel that WomanUP offered in the very first year. And even virtually, we've been able to switch it up and create new things, new ways for us to communicate. So I hope that helps some of you who are new kind of get into the foundational story of what it is that we do here. I would love to dig into this big topic about women and real estate and helping them rise up. Are you ladies ready?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So all of us have over these last 18 months been texting each other and emailing each other and talking about the effects of the pandemic on women. That's our jam. That's our lane. We like to talk about that. We want to make sure that they're being taken care of. And what we've heard over and over again is the millions of women who were displaced or forced to leave the workforce during the pandemic, and how we each have a unique perspective on how the real estate industry is perfectly positioned, really, to help those women create a new life, not only for themselves, but their families and future generations, because real estate really is one of those industries that is passed on, right? A spark happens in a parent, and then their children see it and they get into it. Rosanna Garcia, yes, or dragged into it. Well, we've had conversations with Rosanna Garcia, right, and her mom, and just the 40-year difference in one leading inside Women's Council to where we are today. And so I think that we see it inside the industry, but we really see it inside the WomanUP and the Women's Council of Realtors community. So Leslie, you are our resident reader of all. So what really sparked you over the last 18 months around this conversation of bringing more women into real estate to help them?
I think it's really recognizing that COVID has changed the game and pushed the industry forward 20 years in a year and a half. And so many of the changes are in the direction of strengths and needs that women have, right? This idea that you don't have to go into the office. And again, look, we are independent contractors, or in an industry of independent contractors and so on. But, having office meetings virtually, communicating with other people on your team virtually, I mean, all of that really happened overnight. And then at the same time, you had, housing become a necessity. I mean, housing is an it girl of the pandemic, right? I mean, housing has just become, it was a place that you spent 20% of your time and 80% you were out. And all of a sudden it was kind of flipped overnight. And, women are really good at that stuff. Women are, are really good at kind of, flipping the narrative and making a go of it. So I think it's created an even more female friendly environment for women to thrive. And I think we'll look back on COVID with all of the sadness and the heartache that have been part of it, also look at it as it really jump-started changes that needed to be made and could have been made earlier. They were made out of necessity over the last year and a half. So that's kind of what I think. I think it's become an even more fertile ground for women to create a life with flexibility and passion for home.
Oh, I love that. Bernice, how about you? What are you seeing?
Slightly different. I think some of the challenges that the pandemic has brought us is, and I look to you, Sara, juggling all your responsibilities at CAR, plus having 2 children at home. And we see this playing out for so many women. And I felt this myself, my life didn't change because we've been virtual for 20 years in our company, but it's the first time that I really had pretty bad burnout about that. And the thing that I found that got me through is connecting with my community, the women sitting in this room, and, it's just that message from someone that you haven't heard from a little bit, this notion of reaching out. And again, this community is here to help you. I want to encourage everybody, no matter how long you've been involved, take advantage of the networking and getting to know the women in this community, because when you hit that wall, when you feel like giving up, and we all have those days where that hits us, that person that you can call or be there for you, or who's a friend or mentor, just hearing that happy, bubbly voice, I get something from Debra and it's just like, it's all happy and sassy and everything. And just kind of, or from Leslie or Sara, Leslie, you sent me a picture the other day, and I'm just like, it's just so special when you have those kinds of connections in the industry where they're friendships and mentors and they support you. So I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of this. And I think that is a gift from the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, you know what, what strikes me when you're saying that, Bernice, and, to kind of riff on that, it's the power of the community is as strong as the individual in the community. Right. And so what we've seen a lot in this, and what I want to encourage our broker owners, those who are running their own individual real estate businesses, our executives, to think about how you can translate this into what you're doing. And that is, having a space like the Facebook group has helped us so immensely over this time, right? So having a space where everyone could come together, and whether it was rave about something they had just done, a success or an award that they'd gotten, that normally they would be putting on all of the glitz and glam and rocking across the stage and, having a tiara put on the top of their head, they weren't able to do that, but we were able to celebrate in the group, right? We were able to, give snaps right then and there, and use, our Bitmojis or gifts to really support each other, right? And so I think having that space not only allowed us to do what you're talking about, Bernice, which is supporting each other, but it also provided a place for people to bring someone else into, right? That friend who was having the worst week and felt so disconnected and so alone. I mean, we doubled in the size of the community during the pandemic because of that very reason, right? And so having a platform that your people can not only come to connect with each other, but they can invite someone else along. So powerful. Oh my goodness. I love that so much.
I actually want to comment on another challenge, right? I mean, if you read any of the articles or any of the statistics, it's anywhere between 1.8 and 2.5 million women are out of the workforce now, right? Because of COVID, and they haven't come back because there hasn't been a stable environment for their kids or for childcare or whatever. And I see that challenge as an opportunity for everybody in the room, because if you think back of why there are so many women in this industry, it's very flexible. It's very family friendly. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity for people to get into real estate, because, and especially for parents, but for anybody who wants that flexibility. Now you have, don't get me wrong, I know it's hard work, but that is the beauty of, you can schedule your day and your showings around your children.
Yeah.
And that is a huge opportunity, not only for broker leaders and managers who are looking at their ranks and want to recruit, but also for associations, right? There's a huge upside to that huge challenge of so many people out of work, and a lot of them could be realtors. I'm just throwing that out there as a challenge for all of you to think about who's not in the workforce right now, but could be an amazing realtor.
Yes. Well, and I think that's, if as we kind of pull this conversation in, I think that's the heart of this, right, Sara, is like, let's everybody look at our messaging. What is your messaging going into these final 4 months of 2021 and stepping into 2022? Like, it's time to freshen it up. We've definitely had the conversations on the WomanUP stage about the HP survey that went out that said women only step into positions if they feel they're 100% qualified for it. And so look at your advertisements for, getting into real estate, for getting into sales management. Look at those and really make sure that your requireds are requireds, and your like to haves are in the proper position, so that you are bringing more women to the table to even interview for the role, right? TV makes it very glamorous. Lattes at 11, working out at 2:00. Everyone drives a Mercedes. But us really painting the true picture of what is required inside real estate, I think is going to help all of us. Again, the individual agent who's looking to build her team, the broker who is looking to build their brokerage and, bring in additional agents, and the executives who are looking to bring more women and diversity onto their leadership teams. This is a time for us to slow down and take a look at what words we're using in those job descriptions, and making sure that we're making it welcoming to
100%. And it's a tough labor market because a lot of jobs are hiring right now, right? And so people have a lot of options. So that's another piece to that puzzle.
Yes. I think the last thing that I know we all wanted to make sure that we talked about in this one was the actual reaching out to those people who we haven't seen for a while. Like, reach out to those. I mean, we all have our inner circle, right? Our inner lioness prides, where we're all on speed dial. We have group text, but there's probably people that you're not thinking about. So maybe now is the time to pull out that roster and go down and simply check in. Right? It's a good time to check in. And
if you're vaccinated, you can go have coffee now. I mean, really?
Yes. Holy smokes! Coffee for 2, please. Right? Yes. Awesome. I love that so much. I think we've got some really great ideas there. We'd love to hear yours, of course. Share with us in the chat. Yeah, share in the chat. If you've got articles that you've read on this that you think would be helpful to other people, please drop those in the chat as well. This is a community that loves to grow and learn and stretch how we've done things in the past. So make sure you drop that for the world to see, everyone. And of course, we'll collect that.
Yeah. And let's talk about some exciting things.
Okay.
We're hitting up on the last quarter of the year. I cannot believe. What are you most excited about for, that this next 4 months? Let's start with you, Bernice.
Well, I'm going to Iceland in 2 weeks and sailing down to Spain. So it's another travel thing. You work real hard, and then when you get older, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But in terms of the industry, I'm hoping that COVID is pretty much in back of us as we wrap up here in 2021 and going into 2022. And that, we have our moms who've been staying at home who can get back to work if they choose to, or they may be choosing to homeschool. But real estate is something that's been said, and I want to say it again, is something that they can work with to replace that income. One of the most difficult stories we heard was from Stephanie Lanier, whose son was diagnosed with an absolutely horrific illness. and how she was able, she'd been trained as a social worker, how she was able to pivot to make the money she needed to pay for his hospital bills, which were going to be lifelong, and started her own firm that is very profitable. And then she goes on to start another whole business that helps other women get into business. And those are the kinds of inspirational stories that are throughout this group. But that's there if you're willing to take it. And one caveat is, if you start a business, you better be prepared with the business plan, with the contracts. Again, good resources in this group all around. There's training available to help you, but be prepared. But then you get to do it your way. And most of us are this group, is, overall is independent and entrepreneurial. So we do want to do it our way.
Yes, we do. Leslie, what about you? What are you most excited about?
I just am excited about continuing to mentor and be part of the group. As I said in the beginning, I feel a little bit disconnected, and I'm always grateful when I hear from people. I've very much enjoyed doing my coffee and conversations, and I'm going to be getting that going again in a couple of weeks. So really just giving back. And I also feel there's a lot of misconceptions about what's going on in the market right now. So I'm looking forward to kind of shedding a light on some of that as well. So just really just being a part of.
Awesome. Debra?
Oh my goodness. I would say, personally, Drew and I are going to take a couple of road trips. I'm going to finally see my parents. I haven't seen my parents for, 18, 19 months. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to the final 4 messages that we're focused on in the WomanUP community. The mentoring and sponsoring. We're going to have great conversations about that. And I'm so excited about Leslie's coffee and conversation this month, because it's the perfect way to kick off talking about mentoring and sponsoring and the importance of it. And then we're doing, how to build strong teams. We're going to talk about honing our leadership skills, and then end the year with talking about leading into the possibilities of 2022 as the leaders we are. And so I'm really looking forward to the conversations ahead. How about you, Sara?
Oh, goodness. Well, personally, I'm really looking forward to back to school in person for my 2 babes who need the social interaction, even though they could live with working from remote schooling forever, I guess. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want them to have, dare I say, a normal high school, middle school environment. So that I'm looking forward to. And I'm also looking forward to slowing down a bit. This first 8 months of 2021 has been a whirlwind, and I would love to be able to slow down and talk to people and not feel rushed and they're on the clock. Like, we have 15 minutes. Okay, go. So I really just want to really hone in, look to my team and focus on them. Truly.
So beautiful. Well, I do, as we always do, as we close up, does anybody have a final word of wisdom that they haven't had a chance to say yet, that they want to sprinkle?
I do.
Okay, Leslie,
I just want to tell everyone, it's never too late. And you get to reinvent yourself. You are the author of who you are. And I think one of the most wonderful things about WomanUP is it is made up of all of these very different people who have the biggest hearts and are there to help, because this isn't a journey that's like, check the boxes off and you're going to get there. You have to do the inside work, right? And the inside work is the hardest work, because you can make a decision, but are you ready to live with the consequences? So I'm just really, really excited about reinventing myself and my new role.
I love that. Anyone else have a last bit of wisdom they want to sprinkle?
Yes, I'm going to pyramid on what Leslie just said, because we're both baby boomers, and the great news, you may be working for someone else, but when you work for yourself, I'm going after every holiday status, going to the office when I'm over 100. She built the biggest independent firm in Texas.
Wow.
So the idea here is that this is the career that you can start when you're 18, and it can take you all the way through your life. And as Leslie talked about, reinventing yourself along the way as needed.
So good. Sara, do you have a last word?
I do. And we talked a lot about this community and reaching out. And I also encourage you all to reach back. You know, don't forget who are the people that helped you along the way. Reach back to them. Start another
Good.
conversation, and reach back to mentor others.
Yeah.
To mentor the next generation, the up and comers, the rising stars. If Leslie didn't do that for me, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Mm. That's so powerful.
So great.
That's so beautiful. I think the cherry on top that I would add is, as we've all said in one way or another, it's been a wild ride. And so as you're getting ready to walk into these final four, make sure your yeses are hell yeses.
Yeah.
If they're not, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to say yes to everything. Find your confident no's, go to your core values and say, what does this support? And let things go. Like we said so many times on the show, forget FOMO, embrace JOMO, embrace the joy of missing out on things and soak into a slower pace. Give yourself that gift. Oh my goodness, everyone, we are going to go right into the workshops right from now. We're heading into the heart-powered selling with Robin Treasure. So we look forward to seeing you all there. And of course, we look forward to reading all of your comments in the chat. Thanks everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
Take care. See you.
Bye.